All right, welcome to 20 at 10 with Nat. I'm your host, Natalie. My special guest tonight is producer, multi-instrumentalist, string arranger, and one half of Hula Hi-Fi. Please welcome Josh Kaler. Kaler with a K.
That's right. Like kale
Hello,
salad.
welcome.
Kale salad with an R.
Do you eat kale salad?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I feel like you ate kale salad in the studio. You definitely brought your own salad in
that's
like a giant mixing bowl.
it's off to we're off to a great start. I mean, yeah, I believe that I was doing the whole
Whole
30.
30.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because I was going to buy lunch for everybody in the studio one day. And I was
Yep.
like, well, sorry, man.
I was that idiot who's like I got to bring my own food
That's not, that
and
was just very
then
mature of
and then
you.
you brought wine or
I
something at
did
the
not.
very
Mary did.
or Mary
Don't
did.
blame me.
Well, we had such a great time
We did.
and I was like uh, alcohol is not on the whole 30 or whatever and it just felt right. And then you know what? I became an alcoholic after that. So wonderful. You know?
Wow.
Thanks.
Did you? Let's clarify. You're not actually, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No.
okay, okay. But
But I
I
am
appreciate the.
enjoying a Vino Verde right now.
Ooh.
So
All
cheers.
right.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Me and my ginger beer tonight.
Nice.
This is a really great
Oh yeah.
Gosling. Really great ginger
I've
beer.
had it. It's breathtaking, I would say.
It's very refreshing. Hey Heather, thanks for joining us, and Brian and Laura Joy, what's up? Hi. Um, I have fire tonight. Oh, thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. That was kind. I hope that's a good thing. So, where were we? Salads.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
breathtaking conversation from the get-go.
Well, that was my first impression of Josh. Is obviously he's coming in to the studio. He played on my album. I did not mention that in the intro, but that's what we're referring to. So I met him just a couple months ago in Nashville through Mary Bragg, and I guess we had already been in the studio one day before you came in,
Hmm.
me, Mary, and John, and then sounds like a band.
Yeah.
and
Yes. It was so
then
much fun.
you came in the second day and like setting up pedal steel and like
Hmm.
your guitar like station
Hmm.
and this giant bowl of salad.
That's right.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
It's gonna get me
Cool.
through the day,
You
And
said whole
there was
30
definitely
and I was like, man, I
yeah,
had all these plans to like bring snacks and stuff, and John made biscuits
yeah.
every morning.
I probably had a couple. Let's be honest.
All right.
Whole
While we're
30
being honest.
is very 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 difficult.
Did you, besides that week in the studio, make it through?
Yeah, I did. You know what though? At the very end of it, I read like on the 28th day or something that you couldn't have peanut butter, and I was totally having peanut butter the entire time. So I technically didn't really do it, but it was really good.
You were
Like
close.
with any diet I've done, like I was vegan for a bit and vegetarian and all these things. Like I always take something away from that.
Hmm.
So yeah,
What
it
did you
was
take away from this one?
that you have to be really. I mean, you really have to cook everything.
Uh,
You can't go out. It's not a big deal because of COVID and all that. But we call that the whole 29. I like that. That's a good
that
comment.
was great.
Yeah.
Brian threw in a salad joke too
Talk of
earlier.
salads is a toss up in conversation. Hi-yo.
There we go.
Yep.
Well, while
Anyway,
we're
I don't think they're here for salads.
who makes friends with salad? Nobody makes friends with salad. Is that the line? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drop in your links
Hmm.
so everyone can find you in all the places. Those should be appearing. Yes, they're in the chats, the comment threads now. So we mentioned that me and Josh, but I mentioned that Josh is one half of Hula Hi-Fi,
Hmm.
and so I'm curious about a couple things. One, tell me what like I have questions about it, or you can just say what you want to about it. But I'm curious where the name came from. I like the name,
Hmm.
and how do you describe it as noir, hula noir?
Hawaiian noir or tropical noir.
Okay.
It depends on the week. Uh, yeah. So the name came from I think I had the name Hula Hi-Fi in the rotation for a bit,
Okay.
and
Gotcha.
Hi-Fi. That's right. Hello, and
High
yeah,
10? No.
sure, yeah.
High. Keep
It's
going.
your show. Yeah,
No, keep
great.
going.
um, yeah, it was Hula High Five for a second, a hot second, and then um, yeah, I mean, I was an avid. I still am a collector of vintage Hawaiian vinyl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that was kind of what got me into all of this racket. Um, so yeah, I
What do you mean
think
this racket? Music in general?
yeah, well, into really becoming obsessed with the genre of the beautiful genre of Hawaiian music.
Okay.
I studied this steel guitar player Jerry Byrd, Byrd. That's how you spell his last name.
Hold on.
Just yep,
Larry.
Jerry Byrd.
Oh, Jerry.
Yep,
Jerry.
yeah, J, yep, Jerrybyrd. And yeah, the minute that I was already playing pedal steel for almost a decade at that point, and I was just kind of looking around for a lap steel one day in New York, and here it is. It's in our little home studio right now. It's a
Ooh.
1938 Rickenbacker, and the minute that I played this in the music store up in New York, it just sounded like the ocean. It just had a connection. If there's any musicians that are, I'm assuming there are musicians listening right now.
Yes.
It's not every instrument, but every once in a while you'll find an instrument that like really speaks to you on kind of a spiritual level. And you're just like, oh my goodness, there's songs here. There's something very special with the connection that I'm having with the instrument. So
That's really cool.
so that yeah.
You
So
played that on the album, right? I mean, among other things.
Yep.
Also, I
did.
missed a question from Brian earlier. He said, "Where is
Yeah.
Kaler based?" You're in Nashville, based out
I
of
live in
Nashville, right?
Nashville, Tennessee. Yep. Hmm.
Cool.
And then yeah, and then I found this baritone ukulele in a wonderful shop here in
Ooh.
Nashville called Fanny's, and it was also same thing. I remember just playing like one chord on this, and I'm like, there are songs in this instrument. It's like a little $200 mutt, but it just sounds
I
like
need to find something like
really
that.
nice. Yep.
Yeah. Laura asked about the steel guitar. Did you cry a little? She says she cries if she picks up the right instrument. It's like a Harry Potter wand match.
Yeah. Well, you're in a safe space, Laura. I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. Nice one. Did I cry a little? I think at some point, not in that moment, but I think I've definitely had moments where after really exploring the instrument, it was lap steel and the art of playing traditional Hawaiian lap steel was sort of foreign to me at that point. So I think once I started getting into the getting really nerdy and obsessed with that guy Jerry Byrd, who I was telling you about. Once I discovered his records, and again, those were just on a whim in a record store, looking through the Hawaiian record area, which is always some stores don't even have it. But anyway, just really dove in, and it's such a beautiful style of music. And being an indie sort of moody, atmospheric producer type, I thought it would be interesting to kind of marry the two, the genre of traditional Hawaiian instrumentation, like the lap steel, baritone ukulele, soprano ukulele, upright bass, the vibraphone. Like these are all like my favorite instruments, and they sound so beautiful together. But I wanted to really explore making music with those instruments through a different lens,
Okay.
artistically, and that's kind of how Hawaiian noir kind of came about. That's you know.
Have you created this genre essentially?
I mean, I don't think there's
You
any
heard it
other
here
Hawaiian. I don't think there's
first,
any.
folks.
We'll see. You know, I mean, uh,
Have you recruited other buddies to do projects?
not really. You mean
As in like other like Hawaiian War like
not
groups.
really. No, I mean,
It should be a thing, I feel like.
yeah, but I also like really hold it dear to me. Like, you know, it's something that's very unique to what I feel. You know, we're all trying to. It's hard enough to try to be original out there and make a dent and make a living.
True.
You know, but that's not where the inspiration came from. It was mostly just like, well, I just happen to be really into Hawaiian music right now, and my modern tendencies with those instruments, like, let's see what happens, and so it's not definitely not premeditated or anything. It started off honestly as a wedding band. Like, I was like, oh, let's just
Oh,
play like cocktail parties and and play like traditional Hawaiian tunes, and then it just kind of evolved into doing Nirvana covers and Chris Isaak covers on our first album, which
I
is
loved the
yeah.
Karma Police cover
Oh,
and
thanks.
the Dream or Sleepwalk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
so
we
mad
have
my video crapped out on me because I was so mad.
yeah,
But it was
on
great.
Hawaiian Noir, the first album, it's online only. I don't think it's on the vinyl, but I do a cover of Sleepwalk, which, you know, I could talk a long time about my affinity for Santo and Johnny is the name of the group that
Right.
did Sleepwalk. The melody, they wrote that when they were in their late teens, and I forget which one, it was Santo or Johnny who. I feel like it's the most beautiful melody ever written. Quite
It really
honestly,
is
it's
so
it's
beautiful.
it's really just like,
Kind of haunting. Just
yeah, it's
beautiful.
haunting and just really like straight to the heart. And I read a story that the melody came to him in a dream, very similar to like
So great.
McCartney Rubin thing that's on Hulu, by the way, so good.
Hmm.
He was talking about how he woke up with Yesterday. And and
Yes, I've heard
and he was
this.
and it's such an amazing story because like he was like, there's no way that I came up with this. Like, he keeps asking John, all of the Beatles, if you what is this? Has to be something, and it turns out he just woke up with Yesterday. It's wild.
Yeah,
You know. So anyway, Sleepwalk, very very close to my heart.
I love that one.
Yeah,
Oh, makes me feel good listening to it.
that song will make you cry.
Oh, it's so beautiful. How many instruments do you play? Like last time you counted? Or would it be better to say how many do you own? I don't know which is better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly a strings guy. Like, I really like to, you know,
Well, you did play some percussion on my album and
sure,
some like
yeah. I
snap.
play drums and all that, but like, I'm definitely, passionate about playing, steel guitar and guitar. Any, went to school for guitar, all that stuff. Like, that's gonna be always
Right.
my focus. But as a producer, it's typically just me and an artist, or working on. I'm kind of one of those all-in-one producers who, I produce through the instruments that I play.
Right.
And if you like what I do, that's, that it's because I'm just playing all the things,
Right.
with through like the lens that I have for
Right.
whatever reason.
What was your first instrument?
Piano. Yeah, I
Okay.
took piano lessons. Loved it. In fact, I'm getting back into reading music again.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, you got to find things these days to it's meditative. You got to not look at your phone so much. It's dark out there. But funny story, I stopped going to the piano lessons when my teacher didn't want to show me how to play Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. So it was very
See, that's
classical.
so. I mean,
Yeah.
I
So I
I
was like,
understand
peace.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think as important as being classically trained and being able to play classical
Hmm.
pieces,
Yeah.
I think also what's important with students, I know it was important to me, is like find something that they love and learn how to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you are able to recreate this thing that you think is so beautiful, you learn bits and pieces from that, and it's part of your toolkit,
Yep.
chord progressions,
Right.
rhythms, and things that you will use in your own as well.
Yep.
So I feel like teachers do a disservice if they just completely ignore what a student loves and just like pounds in this particular plan. But
Right. Yeah. I mean, she was,
she didn't like
oh,
Queen.
she was an old lady. I mean, she's not gonna. I don't even know if she knew who Queen was, quite honestly. But but I, but it was, but I still feel like that was. But see, I'm 41 now, and I came back to that this year, like, you know, learning Claire de Lune. It was such
Ooh, I love that
gorgeous.
one.
Just
Yeah.
looking up, trying to go back into these things that I have a little bit of background in, and it felt great. And so I'm so glad that I have that background.
Yeah.
And it's just like, with those composers, centuries ago, it's like, it's just meant to be played one way.
Right.
And so there's no mystery there. And there's something beautiful about that too. It's like, this is just like you're just trying to like really, it's like that you're playing it just like they played it. When you get to
Right.
that point,
That's an
anyway.
interesting way to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't thought about it that way before, but yeah, you're right. When did you start playing steel guitar? Like you went to school for guitar, so like, were you playing it before that?
No. 2000, I believe in 2000, actually it might have been 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. Y2K, y'all. Who's with me?
Woo! So, I was talking with someone recently. I feel like we were in a car talking, so I don't think it was with you, but maybe it was like, I don't know. And they said that I think maybe they just got a pedal steel or something, and they were like, someone told them you'll love it or hate it, and if you love it, then it's like 10 years before you're good at it.
It's very true.
And like you will never be able to escape it. Like it'll have a hold on you, kind of.
Sure.
Would you
I
agree
believe
with that?
I would
Okay.
absolutely believe that. Believe that. You have to. It takes a special kind of insane to learn pedal steel, because there are.
It's very intimidating looking.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even start. Like I went straight from guitar to pedal steel. I think it probably. I went very backwards. Some people will. I think most steel players, I would think, start with like a lap steel with only 6 strings. So anyway, but yeah, I started. Oh, here's what happened though. I heard a song by Cake called "Walk On By," and it's on the Prolonging the Magic album, which is a fantastic album. And there was a guitar solo, and then there was something else after. There was another solo, but I was like, I couldn't discern. Well, that's not guitar. What is that? And then found out it was pedal steel, and I was like, I have to have it. It sounds just incredible.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I went.
That to me is more of like the heartstring than a violin.
Sure.
I know that's maybe a controversial statement, but for me, like
pretty controversial, but yeah.
I feel like that's what gets my heartstrings, is hearing pedal steel just done really well, as opposed to like I'm way more sucked into a pedal steel sound than like a violin sound.
Well, when anything's done beautifully, it's like I'm in,
True.
But I went on eBay that night and grabbed like it was a Showbud Maverick, and then I spent about 10 years like trying to figure that thing out, and it wasn't really until I moved to Nashville and this is the primary reason why I moved here in the first place. I knew there was only like 1 or 2 steel players in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where I was, that's where I was before Nashville.
Right.
And I was like, I want to kind of go where my peeps are,
Yeah.
and then it was great. Met so many awesome players here, and I'm still constantly inspired. I mean, it was honestly between Austin and
Did we
Nashville.
talk about this?
I think we did, yeah. And because
When did
Bob,
you make
Bob
the move?
Hoffner is like one of my
Yes.
heroes, and he lives in Austin, and I think he's the only steel player I've taken lessons from. I had an in-person lesson with him a while back, and he's just just his touch on the instrument.
He's really great.
And there was an album called it was a band called Hem, Rabbit Songs. Are you familiar with the album?
No.
It's just a gorgeous record. It's I come
Him,
back to
like
it.
HYMN.
HEM, as in the hem of your garment.
Okay.
And it's called Rabbit Songs. Rabbit Songs. No, Rabbit, as in bunny rabbit. And it's a gorgeous album. Lots of woodwinds, mandolin, acoustic guitars. Forget the woman's voice; she sings beautifully. Lots of piano. It's like bluegrass film score.
Okay.
Something like that. But I found out about Bob's playing through that album, and absolutely just stunning playing. And that so it was like the Cake album, and then like when I heard that Hem album, that's where I really, it's like, oh, you can really take this into like a beautiful folk pop direction. Daniel Lanois is another huge influence too, of course. Cool. Any pedal steel player will tell you that, though.
Also, Carolyn popped in earlier too. I just wanted to say hey to Carolyn. Well, is there anything else you want to tell us about Hula Hi-Fi? We got kind of sidetracked.
Sure. Like you said, I'm one half of the band. The lead singer and very close friend of mine, Dana Cadora, who's also a phenomenal singer-songwriter in her own right. That's the band. It's just her and I. And we did, one cool event that happened during the record making process is that I went to the Czech Republic in a town called Brno, which is kind of like a little mini Prague. It's a beautiful little city. Prague is amazing too. But yeah, I traveled there. I didn't have to, but I basically, it was my dream to put an orchestra on this album. And this all comes back to Jerry Bird. Like some of those old albums, like you find like some of his old records, it's all instrumental pedal steel, like in the 60s, and they had like an orchestra behind the pedal steel and his lap steel, sorry. It's just the most beautiful, like it's just like, man, I have to do that at some point, put strings and steel guitar together just like Jerry did, but kind of in a modern way, and do it how I'm hearing it. And yeah, so it worked with like a 48 piece orchestra in Brno, and 7 of the 11 songs have their performances on it. It was a wild, it was the most insane session. It was 4 hours, and they just knocked out 7 songs in 4 hours.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was very ill too. I had like some crazy sinus infection. So, but I was like riding off of the adrenaline, like I was in the control room. I just remember hearing them play together the first couple notes of one of the songs, and it was just like, no, that was a tearful moment for sure.
Wow. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Why'd you land in Czech? Like, why not somewhere else? Like, in our country? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of money invested in getting there,
What's this outsourcing stuff? Well,
no, it's fine. I'm curious how it came about,
Sure. It came about because I heard on a podcast called Song Exploder, which I'm sure everyone knows at this point because it's on Netflix and such, that I heard that the Game of Thrones composer was on there and talking about the origins of the title theme for the series and how it came to be and all that. And he talked about how he prefers to work with I think it's the Czech Film Orchestra, I believe, is who he worked with, and that's an orchestra in Prague. And so that's kind of where I start. Like I heard, well, what? Yeah, why would he? Like the biggest television going on right now, maybe in the history of television, don't they have budgets to like hire the London Symphony? Like, why wouldn't they just do the normal thing? And yeah, I mean, I think, well, also for whatever reason, their overhead over there is a lot less, and and I could actually afford, quite honestly, I could actually afford the orchestra.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, I was like, I certainly value the Nashville string players here are incredible, but there was just no way that I could have logistically had a it's like there's a couple,
no
there's a
judgment, like that
there's
makes
one
total
song
sense
with
to
like
me, but
flutes and horns and all, I've got like 50 people on the floor. There's just no way that would have happened in Nashville. So
that's what I was wondering. I was like, gosh, I just kind of, to me, like expense wise, I was like, thinking in my head it would be more expensive to go with them, but if it wasn't, that makes total sense.
But I also, and really quickly, I built in like a 2-week like vacation. Like I was like, I'm gonna go, and I'd never done that before, and so saw some friends in Germany and all that stuff. So it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I told you the time would fly by. I'm having to like pick which questions I have left.
Okay. No worries.
I ask everybody this, so let me ask this first.
Mm-hmm.
What is the earliest memory you have of connecting with a song? Like hearing, probably you were a child, hearing a song and just being like, what is this? I love this. I need more of this.
Interesting. What comes up, I don't remember this, but what my parents tell me when I was like, I think I was definitely, I can't remember anything before 3 or 4 at this point, probably, but I think it was around 1 or 2 where they played Steve Miller's Threshold, which is like a very like psychedelic, dreamy kind of instrumental on, I think it's the song that happens right before Jet Airliner happens. And the way they would mimic I would just imagine like a 1-year-old version of this, and just like being enchanted by it. that's how
you're moving your.
Yeah, I'm like whoa,
whoa.
Cool mushrooms, like that's what I'm told.
Amazing. Okay, that's really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
I mean, and then and then fast forward to like, I don't know, I think I must have been 9 or 10. I saw Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me video, and I was like, that looks fun. That I definitely remember like vividly thinking rock and roll looks pretty sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, okay. I wanted to give a shout out to Martha. And if you follow Josh on Instagram, which I didn't put his personal Instagram, I put the Hula Hi-Fi Instagram. No, I didn't put either. But Hula Hi-Fi is at Hula Hi-Fi, and you are at Josh Kaler, right, on Instagram?
Joshua Kaler, actually. Somehow Josh Kaler was taken already, but
all you Kalers. And Hula Hi-Fi. It's just Hula Hi-Fi, right, on Instagram? Hula Hi-Fi. Cool. Make sure I spell this correctly. Yes. Good. Okay. So those just shared the Instagram handles. So if you follow Josh, he posts a lot of pictures and videos of Martha, and not just Martha, other dogs too. But if I remember correctly, didn't you start training dogs during lockdown?
Yeah.
And it's kind of this thing that you're like kind of really good at, and like you're getting paid for.
Well,
like it's a thing you do now.
It is a thing I do now, and
please share.
Sure, it's probably the best story we got tonight.
I mean,
this music stuff is like whatever.
Cool. I mean, I don't know.
What's poetic about music? No, no. I mean, when COVID hit, I've always wanted a dog. I've always been that guy at parties that if there's a dog and there's a bunch of humans, I'm going to the dog.
But you're like my brother.
It's just like, oh, there's a dog. I'm gonna go hang out with that little guy. That's fun. And when lockdown happened, there was like there was just not a whole lot going on, and there was like, well, I started thinking about fostering, just to kill some time or whatever, and then joined this thread with the local shelter, and they're like, hey, yeah, we got like this litter of puppies. You want to help out? I was like, great, yeah. So I took 3 puppies in, put them in the shower stall, and it was just it was bananas. Like having them for a couple weeks. It was really fun, but also just crazy. I don't know if you ever hung out with 3 8-week-old puppies, but
No, I wish.
it definitely helped. The environment that was happening upon us.
Right.
It certainly that was definitely smiling a lot more. And then and then one of those puppies was Martha. Certainly wasn't planning on grabbing one of them, but they call it foster fail because literally just the first time I ever fostered puppies, and I was like, well, I guess you're coming with me because this is just there's something going on here, and I'm so glad I did, and and again, like we just had time, like there's just not a lot of stuff going on for us musicians, and so I just got really into the training. I was like, well, she's shitting everywhere. I probably should like get this on lockdown. I should probably like get her to be really good at not pooping and peeing in the house. And so it was really bad in the beginning. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Honestly, I was just like, yeah, come on aboard, settle up, and I was very close to aborting mission too. 'Cause it's hard. 2 months of waking up. I mean, it's like having a newborn, waking up in the middle of the night. But there's an end result very quickly. Like, in 2 months, they become potty trained, all that.
Yeah.
And then, I just kept on like getting into it and getting fascinated by the science behind, it was just like this new passion that just happened because there was time to think about other things.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like I've always loved dogs, and and then through the training of Martha, it just evolved into I'm just riding the wave to see where it goes. But I'm very recently I was added to the roster of trainers that is on the same. Like this is where I got Martha last year, and so now I'm one of 4 trainers that is on a roster to be on call.
Congrats,
which is like crazy for me. And so and I'm still just like with music though. Like I'm just such a sponge. I love learning. I think that's what makes me thrive as a person is just the curiosity of what's next, and just evolving. I mean, that's how I thrive. So, and animals, quite honestly, it's a very, the juxtaposition with animals and music. I mean, it's very, very different skill sets.
Right.
But also, I find a lot of music in the in the training that I do with other animals. There is a rhythm to it. There's almost a dance to there's you have to use body language on a lot to like coordinate timing. And anyway, I could talk a lot about that. I'm very into it. I'm still like I'm just kind of still buzzing on how far this can go,
Buzzing on the success.
Buzzing on just the freshness of a new passion, honestly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And
did you say you were like one of the only men in town doing it?
No.
Like training? What was the? There was some.
No, that's well. I think I was
What were we
maybe
talking
mentioning. Well, with the type of I'm very into the force-free, science-based movement of dog
Yes.
training, and one of my friends mentioned that there's just a lack of men in that genre of dog training. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought you mentioned. I couldn't remember what, but thank you for clarifying.
No worries. Yeah.
Cool. Well, are you ready for the pop question? Before we move on to the next section,
Sure.
Have you ever received an electric shock? It's different from electrocution. You die if you're electrocuted.
Right.
A shock.
I don't think so, but there was one very, very close call with in college. I think I took out the washer dryer plug while it was still maybe running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did that, but we were trying to fix it or something, and the amount of electricity that I saw was quite revolting. That probably could have killed me. But
wow,
that's all I got though.
Fortunately, I sometimes I'll get real bad shocks when I close my car door or touch my car in the winter.
Oh, like static shocks.
Yeah, static shocks.
Yeah, sure.
But not like.
What about on microphones? That's actually happened several times live. Like that's awful.
What? Just getting shocked or like
getting into the like if it's
like
like
I feel like maybe once.
You wouldn't get shocked with this, but like with an open grill microphone like a SM58.
Yeah.
Like I there's been numerous times where I get up to the mic and I start singing background vocals and it just
zing.
It destroys you. Yeah. It's
yeah.
awful.
Do you remember a few years ago there was a French singer that actually died on stage, like was electrocuted because of her microphone.
Oh God.
That was like horrifying. Like.
Oh.
And wasn't that old either. She was like maybe early 30s, late 20s.
Oh.
It was like so that like I am like a little weirded out that like how I don't understand how that works, but
I would like to know more about that. I mean,
I'll send you a name later.
Yeah,
send you on a.
Feels like it's. I've never known anyone that died from that. Yeah.
I was like, is this a thing? Like another thing for me to be worried about on stage.
Yeah.
Besides, like knowing the song and like remembering lyrics and like playing right with the band.
Sure.
Anyways, well, let's actually move on to the next portion. Do you have a question for me?
I do. So our mutual connection is Mary Bragg.
Yes.
Who is a wonderful human.
Seconded that.
And I wanted to know why you decided to work with the wonderful Mary Bragg.
Ooh, the story with many turns. So, a year ago, I've been thinking about getting back in the studio for a while. And a year ago, at the beginning of 2020, wow, that's not a year ago anymore, a year and a half ago, early 2020, lockdown hadn't happened yet. I was like, you know what? I released an album last year. This would be my year probably that I need to go in the studio and do the next thing. Mm-hmm. And I took stock of all my songs and they weren't there. I had like maybe 5 to 7. And I was like, I really want to put out a full project next time. Mm-hmm. And so I remember there was a moment of prayer where I'm like praying, asking the Lord to give me songs, inspiration, because I was feeling very uninspired. And around that time, I discovered Pedro the Lion, the Phoenix album.
Oh, wow.
And I found that really inspiring. It was just a lot of like unexpected things in the album for me.
Sure.
That I really liked. And I'd never really listened to Pedro the Lion before.
I'm a huge David Bazan
Are you really?
fan. Huge David Bazan fan.
I just saw him a couple weeks ago in Austin.
Yeah. Options.
For the first time.
The album Options is my jam.
I'm going to have to make a note to go.
It's a rock and roll opus.
Okay.
Phenomenal album. Yeah.
Well, okay. I just it was the first album that I had had on repeat in a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to be a fan, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it had been a while that since I had just been such a big fan of someone else's music that I wanted to have it on repeat. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
like refreshing to me. So I prayed that prayer, found this music, then lockdown happened, and I was like, okay, that was not the answer to prayer that I was hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what it just so it long story short, I ended up writing most of the songs that ended up on this album that year,
Mm-hmm.
and 2020, and wrote a couple of co-writes with people via Zoom, and it was just a really interesting year. I mean,
Yeah.
understatement, of course, but
Sure.
um, and originally I was thinking like once lockdown happened, the vision for the full album turned into this kind of interesting idea of doing some kind of like mixtape where I worked with 10 different producers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, well, that'd be kind of a Bizarro album, and like this has been a Bizarro year, and it'd be a good like moment in time piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then an artist I admire talked me out of it. I mean, he didn't try too hard, but he made a good point, and I was like, it would become about the producers and not as much about the music. And I was like, oh,
True.
I mean, I really would want it to be about the music, not that I don't care about producers. I don't know. It just was like that was where I shifted my thinking, and that was January of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
then I took stock of my songs this year, and I was like, wow, I have like 25, and I started looking around and asking around, and meanwhile, my friend Grace Pettis had worked with Mary last year, so I took note, like, because I'd met Mary before as like a songwriter, and I was like, she's a producer too.
Right.
And then I heard Grace's album, and I had some guests on my show, Red Dirt Girls, and I had heard their album, and then I realized Mary produced it. So I'm like hearing her name a lot as a producer. And so I actually called her because I was going to work with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked for her advice because it was kind of an interesting situation. And I felt like her particular experience of starting out as an artist and also becoming a producer was an interesting transition. And I wanted to hear about it. And I'm like, what questions should I ask? I was going to be like the first project of this, I guess, new producer. Yeah. And so, anyways, that fell through, and I ended up calling Mary and saying, so you're actually in my top 2. Would you want to work with me? Like,
That's
I just,
awesome. Yeah.
I decided not to go with that other option. And because I realized in that time, like Mary, she took my call and answered all these questions I had about it. And when I was asking about working with someone else, she answered my call. She responded to my texts or emails. Whatever I sent out to her, she responded back to, and gave me like an hour of her time on the phone once. And I was like,
sure,
thinking through all my options. And I was like, you know who's given me their time generously? Mary. And so I felt comfortable with her. And like I felt like we were on the same wavelength with ideas that I'd had. And so it just seemed like a really natural progression to go in that way. So, and I just am really inspired and think it's cool. I've never worked with a lady producer before. And there is something to be said about representation, like, I don't know that actually a couple people have told me like, Natalie, I can tell you here things I think you should try producing. And I'm like, I don't know, but it's been helpful to see someone else and watch her moves, in the studio, and how
she's got moves,
how she directs, and how she includes everyone in the process, and like will listen to everyone's idea and or try it and or love it, or like, let's try this other way or whatever. Sure. And she's in control, but she's it's
pretty gracious with all of that. I
feel
like.
Exactly.
Her bedside
Very
manner
gracious.
And that's awesome. That's great. I mean, I'm so glad that you found her, because then you and I got to work together, which is amazing. I also worked with the Red Dirt Girls. And
Alicia, right?
That was fun. Yeah, Alicia too.
They've all been guests on the show.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just she's definitely one of the. Oh, real quick story. When I first moved to town, she was one of the first artists I went and saw at the basement, the original
Oh,
basement here, and I just remember like, man, this, there's some heat in Nashville, like and
you played in her video, right? There was, oh shoot. I shared a video of the I Thought You Were Someone Else song. It was like a live performance. It might
oh
have been last year during COVID actually. Um
oh
it was
like
like,
a just a duo thing.
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but I didn't know you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went back and watched that video after the studio, I was like, "Oh, I know him."
Yeah, that's me.
It's like it all's making sense now.
Yeah,
How
I
everybody's connected.
just absolutely adore playing with her, and so glad. Yeah, and making the album with y'all was really. I mean, that was like our. I mean, I think for a lot of the
Right?
personnel, it was our first time in a studio
Without a mask.
without masks. I mean, we had a brief little
There was this
honeymoon.
If we're talking about this and you're wondering what's going on in the world, if you're watching this later, I was in the studio in June of 2021. And at that time, I think literally the weekend I got to Nashville, all of them, all the mandates I think were lifted. There were so many tourists. Like
yay.
people didn't need to wear a mask, and Delta wasn't a thing yet. And
Right.
it was this weird honeymoon period of like, this is so exciting.
Yeah, and we were definitely like everyone was psyched to be doing it. So it was
hence
a definitely perfect storm.
Or sparkling wine or whatever at the end.
Hence the alcoholism, I mean, what are you gonna do?
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, let's do one more question, and then we're gonna hear some music.
Okay.
Have you ever been stuck in an elevator?
Yes.
Really?
With my sister in Charleston.
Okay.
That's the end of the story.
Well, what happened? How long were you in there? How'd you get out?
I think we were in there for like 20 minutes.
Oh, it's not too bad. Cool.
No, it wasn't terrible.
Were you freaked out?
A little bit.
Was it hot in there?
Yeah.
Cold?
Not particularly. I think it was just. I'm very close with my sister, but I think we were like, well, what else do you want to talk about? What other topics do you like? We've already. Do you like websites? What do you like? What do you like? YouTube, MySpace? What are you into?
You have a Juno account?
I don't even know what that is.
Really?
What's a Juno account?
It's like an old email, like a Yahoo or Gmail or whatever. It was at Juno.com.
I don't think I
didn't. I think I might have had a Juno account for like a split second.
Sure.
Well, you obviously made it out, so.
Yep. Made it out just fine.
Good for me. Good for all of us.
Yep.
Cool. I think I've been in shaky elevators where you're like.
Oh.
Looking at the numbers, you're like, come on.
Sure.
You got this.
Yep.
And there is at my office building, there is a elevator that is constantly under repair. And I will not use the elevator in my building because I'm like, no,
sure.
I'm taking the stairs. Because I don't need something else to be afraid of.
Of course. Yeah, get your steps in, like.
I mean, I work on the first floor, so it's like not. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like the bathrooms are occupied or they're being cleaned or whatever, but you gotta go to the other floor.
Right.
Inner office workings. Haven't really, yeah. That took a turn. So.
Woo! Would you look at the time?
Wow. Intriguing stories. That's what I'm here for. Y'all giving you the best stories ever. Well,
I thought it was great.
Well, thank you. What song will you be playing for us?
Oh, well, I will be I'm gonna play.
And on what instrument?
It's a little ukulele. I'm gonna play a song. This is the last track on the Hula Hi-Fi album, "The Isle of Forgotten Dreams."
Would you like to have the whole screen to yourself, or would you like me to stay here with you?
What do people normally do?
I like hanging out. I'll probably like
Why don't you just hang out?
dance with it.
Well, it's a very very meditative. So the album, we were talking about the orchestra and all of this, like, the album starts with a song called Tropicali Sunset, and the last track of the album is Tropicali Sunrise. So the whole album is sort of
Oh,
a kind of a it's just
progression.
your dream state. It's all the imagery, everything is nighttime based, and then there's lots of conflict, lots of anxious moments within the whole narrative, and then it all works out in the end. And this is a song that, quite honestly, I think I was just very in love with the person, and I was like, I'm gonna play this at her wedding. So, and anyway, it just ended up being like, oh, I'll just put this as the last little like coda at the end of the album. And so anyway, Tropicali Sunrise. Get my mic situated here so you can hear it.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Can you hear that? Okay. Okay.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Ukulele.
A lovely instrument.
I mean, I'm glad that was invented.
I am too.
Yeah.
There's a I probably just need to go and find another one and see if I have the same experience. But yes, Laura Joy, that was really lovely.
Oh, thanks, Laura.
Um, I went to a music store and I picked up, don't judge me, banjolele. And it was just like a tiny banjo.
I have one of those.
Like, do you
I love
really?
it. Oh yeah, I love banjo.
And I immediately started writing a song on it in the store.
Yeah, you did.
And I probably just need to go and find one and finish writing that song. It was a love song, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Tried
and true,
And at the time, I just didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have $200 really to spend on any instrument. So, and I've been thinking, I might pick your brain about this later.
Yeah.
About getting a baritone uke to play a specific song from the album.
It definitely, the limitations of the soprano ukulele, it does like one thing really well, which I feel, but it doesn't have, you can't really, the baritone just has a little, it's just in the lower register, so you can actually play like fuller chords with, you can still get the song across a little better. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of the Barry, like, huge fan. Yep.
Well, now I just have to find one and learn how to play that song on it.
You know
Anyways,
that it's just the bottom four strings of
yes.
acoustic, right? Okay, yeah. Or
Yes. So
regular
I would
guitar.
just need to, because when I play it, I use the top two strings primarily, the
Mm-hmm.
low strings.
Gotcha.
So I'd have to just completely
Right.
figure out a different way to play it.
Sure.
But I think it could be really fun. And like it would be in a separate tuning, and so it'd be possibly an easy instrument to bring along that would just maybe stay in that tuning.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
I'm into it.
Anyways, well, I this is the mood that I'm in tonight. A song called "Give a Damn,"
Great.
and it is on the new album. And Josh played some beautiful pieces, beautiful instrumental pieces throughout, and especially the bridge. There's a really pretty steel part. It's really great. So, anyways,
Can't
I'll
wait to
play.
hear it.
Yeah, me too. Final mixes are coming soon.
Yay.
Okay, this is called "Give a Damn." I'm not your mother. I'm not your lover. I've got no built-in rights. I'm not your father. I'm not your doctor. But I can tell it's serious. Don't say you'll be there soon when you're in a hospital room. I love a good joke, but this one isn't funny. You've got a broken heart. You've got a fucking start letting your friends give a damn. Oh, because I'm a friend and I care about you, dear. I wish that you cared more about you too. 'Cause if you don't care, the battle is twice as hard. 'Cause I have to fight you and try to convince you that you're worth it. I'm not your mother. I'm not your lover. Oh, but honey, I give a damn.
Ooh. Stunning melodies.
Thank you.
By Natalie Price, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah. I said it to her when we were doing the sessions, but you have such a did you ever listen to that Gemma Hayes woman that I
Yes.
mentioned? Did you dig any of that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Make
Put you on the spot there. But yeah, I mean, it's not like you sound like her or anything, but it's just like your melodic tendencies are very
They remind you.
well, no, I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to say that they're just very they're very unique and very I mean, that song in particular has a very like that sounds like a string melody to me. You know, what
Mm-hmm.
you're singing, like the dun, 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 dun. It's almost like that could be in Sound of Music or something. Honestly, like
Ooh, high compliment.
which I'm a huge fan of the soundtrack.
Me too.
Um, but yeah, you do have like this. Yeah, it's almost like it's like you're writing violin melodies when you're
Hmm.
singing.
I like that.
Maybe I just deciphered it.
Okay.
Um,
I
yeah,
would say like, well, because for sure the last 2 years, but most of my performance career has been me and my guitar.
sure,
And there's only so much you can do.
right,
Like, if you're not a maestro, like finger picking or melody shredding
mm-hmm,
person on guitar,
sure,
you have to make up for that somewhere. And I don't ever,
yeah,
like, I think I walk somewhere the line in between like folk singer and band, or like I'm trending more band, but
mm-hmm,
and those worlds are very separate in Austin. Like, you might know a bunch of folk singers and you be a songwriter with people, but like you don't really hang out or know anybody in bands. Like, it's a
right,
weird. I don't know if that's the same in Nashville, but there's like it's like there's two scenes here. It's very
hmm,
weird. And
interesting.
so
Yeah, it's not really the
I've
same
heard
here, but
people say about this is something I strive to not be. Like, I've heard people say at a certain point everything sounds the same when you're
hmm,
on guitar. So I
right,
strive to like really make songs different from each other
yeah,
in melody, and like my guitar playing is pretty similar. Like, I have like one finger picking pattern, and then
mm-hmm,
like I've gotten into a lot more like downbeat strums
mm-hmm, yeah,
recently.
for the
So
rockers, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
so I don't
No,
know.
I get all that for sure. Yeah, I mean, I get that you're trying to deliver like
And I start with melody usually.
yeah,
The
sure.
melody unlocks the rest of the lyrics for me usually.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's
Different
fairly
people, some people start with lyrics and then fit melody over it.
right. Oh, I've never words are
To me,
hard.
that's yeah, that's really hard. But I think the melody, I don't know about for you, but melody will
Mhm.
like drive a feeling,
Mhm.
and from that feeling, like I'm like just laying on like crap, like whatever comes out of my mouth, like in my
Yeah.
voice memo. It's
Yeah.
like dumb stuff, but sometimes something will stick, and I'm just
Totally.
layering words that like vowels and consonants kind of fit rhythmically, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
eventually I find other words to fill that rhythmically, but
Yep.
the
Yeah, it
melody
definitely
has to be
sounds like
interesting to me for me to want to
sure.
move forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me, can you guess if I do the melody or the lyrics first? I mean, you definitely sound like you're yeah, it sounds like you're when you're creating the song for the first time, you just start like the violin just starts going, you know, like and then you just sort of have to work around what, you know, where the inspiration comes from, you know.
Yeah. How do you write?
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
Awesome.
definitely but also I feel like so for some of the Hula Hi-Fi stuff, I consciously well, I knew that there was going to be an orchestra on the album, and towards the end, I needed like a couple more songs. And towards the end, I just started writing with like orchestra in mind. So I just got the string patch out and
Mm.
just started like so some songs just start like yeah, as a producer, like I do like to get inspired by like a drum loop um, or a string patch. You know, you bring up like a pad that I've never used before and just start like messing around. But in general, it was all from that baritone ukulele, like
Ah,
just because I knew that it was going to be the anchor for
right.
everything. Because there was no like acoustic. It was just gonna the acoustic instruments on the album are just gonna be ukuleles, so it needed to like be strong just on a baritone, you know.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, you know.
While we're here, Laura Joy asked I didn't see your question earlier. I'm also can't wait to hear the final recordings.
Hmm.
I don't have an official release date. I'm aiming for like end of spring, beginning of summer type time frame, possibly. Depends on how quickly I can get all my stuff together.
Smart. Yeah. I mean,
so
take your time, I think, at this point.
Yeah, there's no rush. I'm learning. And I mean, I want to release it before the music becomes old to me, you know?
Of course.
Like, I don't want to wait too long, but
I get that. Yep.
I want to do it well. And September and October are possibly going to be really busy. So, like, I don't know that I'll be doing a lot necessarily.
Sure.
We'll see. Who knows? We'll see. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
It's I can't wait to hear the final product. It was so fun to play. It was like got to like play some rock guitar on that. You know, it felt really good.
Yeah, it did.
What was the song that we were just like
Done?
That I was obsessed with? What was it?
Done.
The song Done. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We were all like, that's the only time I cried in studios when I got headphones on and I'm hearing like the board mix and we're all there and I'm like,
yeah. Yeah.
It was exciting.
Because you were like, you the emotions just overran you when you heard the rock.
Yes. That is what it would happen.
That's what happens to me too.
It just, It was.
But I don't cry. I just like do this.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm a dumb guy.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. Absolutely, Laura. Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, of course. It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
And check out Josh and Hula Hi-Fi. I dropped, you know what? Let me just drop them again. Drop more. Let's see here. Oh, did I? Oh, here they are. Coming at you. Websites for Hula Hi-Fi and Josh Kaler. Like how I turned your name into a song.
I like that.
Cool. And y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. I'll be back here. I believe I'll be back here. Yes, I'll be back here next week. So, with another guest. Stay tuned.
Wonderful.
Thanks for hanging. Thanks,
yeah, of
everybody.
Course. I've got a Settlers of Catan game to play, so this is great timing.
Oh, perfect. Amazing. Wow.
Those are my friends.
No, that's great.
That was our COVID game, so we still play it. So online,
awesome.
Of course.
Of course.
Anyway.
The safe way. The safest way.
That's right. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good night.